The heavy rain, like a soaking wet black cloth, enveloped the late-night streets of Brooklyn. I was slumped on the sofa, the lingering scent of burnt coffee still on my fingertips, when my phone suddenly vibrated, not with the familiar ringtone, but a low-frequency hum accompanied by static. There was no caller ID on the screen, only a string of flashing asterisks, like some kind of unencrypted code. I casually answered, assuming it was likely a telemarketing call, my finger hovering over the hang-up button. But I found the button had turned gray, stubbornly embedded in the screen, refusing to budge no matter how much I tapped or pressed. "Damn it," I muttered, about to throw the phone aside, when a muffled conversation suddenly flooded into my earphones. It sounded like it was recorded through thick walls, accompanied by the background sound of rain, yet it pierced my eardrums with unsettling clarity. "The soundproofing in the ventilation duct has been replaced with polyester fiber. The bullet won't make much noise when it passes through." The man's voice was low and hoarse, carrying an almost cruel certainty. At 3:15 a.m., he'll walk into the study on time, as is his habit, to have a glass of bourbon before bed. The glass has already been tampered with, a small amount of muscle relaxant. It won't take effect immediately, but it's enough to render him helpless within 30 seconds. My heart lurched. This wasn't a prank. The details in the conversation were too specific: the dosage of the muscle relaxant, the material of the ventilation duct, the target's habits. Every word was like an ice pick, shattering the tranquility of the night. What about the neighbor? The woman's voice held a hint of barely perceptible tremor, though she tried to suppress it. "The old lady downstairs always waters her plants on the balcony. What if she hears something?" "Don't worry," the man chuckled, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. "I've already notified the entire building in the name of the building management that there will be plumbing repairs from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. tonight, and opening windows is prohibited." As for the old lady, I swapped one of her blood pressure pills. She should be sleeping like a log by now. The static in my earphones suddenly intensified, followed by the rustling sound of paper being turned. The target study is on the east side of the second floor. The window faces the sycamore tree in the backyard. We'll climb over the wall from the backyard and use a master key to open the side door of the study. The key is already made, it's in your left pocket. The man's voice was getting closer, as if he were right next to my ear. "Remember, after you shoot, immediately throw the gun into the fireplace. The ashes will cover the gunpowder residue, and the muscle relaxant metabolizes quickly. The autopsy report will only show sudden cardiac arrest." I suddenly jumped up from the sofa, my hands and feet ice cold. This was a meticulously planned murder, and I was the only listener. I trembled as I reached for another phone, wanting to call the police, but my fingers wouldn't cooperate, slipping several times. Finally, I grabbed the phone and dialed 911, but instead of the dispatch center's voice, I heard the conversation between the man and woman again, as if the replay button had been pressed. "The dosage of the muscle relaxant can't be too much, otherwise it will be detected. Don't worry, I've checked the information, the tolerance level for an adult is." I hung up and dialed the fire department's number, but the result was the same. No matter what number I dialed, the phone would automatically switch to that terrifying channel, the conversation between the man and woman clinging to me like a persistent disease. I pulled out the earphones, but the phone stubbornly continued playing, the sound emanating from the speaker, echoing in the empty living room, making it especially eerie. "Who are they?" I muttered to myself, my back drenched in cold sweat. Who was the target? Where were they going to commit the crime? I forced myself to calm down and listen carefully to every detail in the recording. The man mentioned the sycamore tree in the backyard, the study on the east side of the second floor, and bourbon whiskey. These clues were like scattered puzzle pieces. I had to put them together. The woman suddenly sighed. "Do we really have to do this? After all, he..." "Shut up," the man sharply interrupted her. "We have no way out. He knows too much. If we don't get rid of him, we'll be the ones who die." Then there was a silence, only the sound of rain and static electricity intertwined. Think about our future, the man's voice softened, laced with a seductive tone. Once he's dead, his inheritance, his company, will all be ours. Then we can go to the Caribbean and never have to answer to anyone again. But, what if someone finds out? Find out what? An old man living alone, dying of a sudden heart attack. Nothing could be more normal. The man's tone held a hint of contempt. Besides, I've already hacked into this house's security system. From 3 o'clock to 3:30 a.m., the surveillance footage will automatically loop yesterday's recording, leaving no trace. An old man living alone. Security system. A thought suddenly flashed through my mind, and my heart pounded. The previous owner of the house I rented was an old man who lived alone and died of a sudden heart attack 3 months ago, which is why the house was put up for rent. And in the month I've been living here, I did notice signs of tampering on the side door of the study. At the time, the landlord said it was accidentally done by the renovation workers, so I didn't pay much attention. And the sycamore tree in the backyard, the study on the east side of the second floor, the window facing the backyard, it's exactly the same layout as my house. No, it's impossible. I shook my head frantically, trying to deny this absurd idea. There couldn't be such a coincidence in the world. The house they described must only be similar to mine. I rushed to the window, pulling back a corner of the curtain. The heavy rain was still raging outside. The sycamore tree in the backyard swayed violently in the wind, its branches like ghostly arms beating against the window. The side door of the study was tightly closed, the paint on the door slightly peeling, exactly as it was when I moved in. The conversation in my headphones continued. Can the master key open the side door? I'm a little worried. The woman's voice was anxious. Absolutely, the man said confidently. I tried it last week when he was out. The lock on the side door is an old-fashioned one, easy to open. By the way, there's a rosewood desk in the study, and his will is in one of the drawers. We need to find it and replace it with the one we prepared. Rosewood desk. I stumbled into the study, and the sight before me sent a chill down my spine. There was indeed a rosewood desk in the study, placed under the window, with its drawers half open, containing a few old books and a pen. Things I had put there when I moved in and organized the room. All the clues pointed to a terrifying fact: the murder scene they described was my home. And that target, could it be me? I'm only 27 years old, not an old man, and I don't have any inheritance or a company. What's going on? Did they kill the wrong person? Or was the previous owner's death not an accident at all? The man in the headphones suddenly checked the time. Okay, half an hour left, let's go. Remember, be quick, and don't leave any traces. Okay, the woman's voice was resolute. I slumped onto the floor of the study, my mind a blank. They were coming, they were going to break into my house and commit a murder. And I couldn't even call the police, I could only watch helplessly as it all unfolded. No, I can't just sit here and wait to die. I have to find a way to save myself. I stood up and looked around. There was nothing in the study I could use to defend myself, only a letter opener on the corner of the desk. I grabbed the letter opener, gripping it tightly in my hand. The blade was cold, but it gave me a faint glimmer of courage. I rushed to the door and looked out through the peephole. The hallway was pitch black, the emergency light had been broken for days, and the building management hadn't gotten around to fixing it yet. I couldn't see anything, only hear my own pounding heart and the footsteps of the man and woman in the headphones, which seemed to be getting closer. 10 minutes left, the man's voice came through. Check your weapons, make sure everything is foolproof. Already checked, the woman said. I leaned against the door, my body trembling uncontrollably. What should I do? They had guns, and I only had a small letter opener. I was no match for them. Should I jump out the window? It's only the second floor, not too high, maybe I wouldn't die, but I might get injured. But it was pouring rain outside, the ground was slippery, and there were no streetlights in the backyard. It was pitch black.